Howdy y'all, welcome to Adventures with Kendall. Today we've made it to Promontory Summit, Utah for the Golden Spike ceremony. We're going to take a look at the Golden Spike National Historic Park and watch a reenactment of the driving of the Golden Spike. Along the way, we'll learn about the place and see how many interesting things are at this location. So let's get going and head to the Golden Spike National Historic Park at Promontory Summit, Utah. In the last two episodes, we talked about the CP and UP railroad crews working towards Promontory Summit. These were from the west and east ends of the Golden Spike National Historic Park, working towards the point where the last spike was driven. Today, we are at the Golden Spike National Historic Park's Visitor Center. We will take a look inside this place today. I'm here at the Golden Spike National Historic Park. Let's go check this place out. The park is situated on the railroad grade right-of-ways of the Central Pacific and Union Pacific and is approximately 400 feet wide and 15.5 miles long. Along with the summit site where the rails were joined, the park has west and east slopes where worker campsites, incomplete grades, partially completed rail cuts, specialty workshops, and 2 national monuments. There are 2 self-guided driving tours, the West Auto Tour and the East Auto Tour. You will drive on the actual Central Pacific Railroad grade and see the Union Pacific grade. There are guidebooks to use while driving the tours. There are points of interest marked along these tour routes that the guidebook will explain what you are seeing. The old dirt roads and embankments of the West and East Auto Tours are the actual railroad grades from 1869. The Central Pacific was building from the west, while the Union Pacific was building from the east. The grading crews for each railroad was sent ahead of the track lane crews. As a result, they built past each other for 250 miles. This was due to both railroads being paid by the mile to build their line. Once Promontory Summit was chosen for the meeting place, the grading crews stopped building and abandoned their grades. You will notice that the CP grades are better maintained than the UP grades. This is due to the Central Pacific purchasing 53 miles of the UP grades up to Ogden, Utah. After this, only 1 grade was maintained while the other was not. This is what you will see on the West and East Auto Tours. Now that we have seen the grades, let's go inside the Visitor Center and check it out. I'm here at the Golden Spike National Historic Landmark. Let's go check out the reenactment of the driving of the Golden Spike. The Visitor Center has artifacts, memorabilia, a small theater, and outside points of interest to see. There is also a gift shop where you can find items related to the Transcontinental Railroad. There are also points of interest around the grounds of the Visitor Center. There are booklets and maps inside to guide you on the West and East Auto Tour. Remember, these are the actual rail grades constructed and joined together in 1869. Episodes 6 to 7 of this series are all about these 2 tours, including the many points of interest along the way. There are reenactments of the driving of the last spike scheduled throughout the year, which the audience can participate in. 6 years after the start of building, the last spike was driven into place at Promontory Summit. This ceremony took place on May 10, 1869. A team of Chinese workers laid the last 2 rails for the Central Pacific, and a team of Irish workers laid the last 2 rails for the Union Pacific. There were 4 last spikes for this event. The Golden Spike was the last to be put in place. There are reenactment ceremonies held during the summer and fall seasons at the Golden Spike National Historic Park. There are great opportunities to see and to be a part of a living history ceremony. Here at Promontory Summit, Utah, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed with the driving of the Golden Spike. And here I am at the location where it all happened. Now let's talk about the 2 locomotives here at the Golden Spike National Historic Park. Here is the Central Pacific Jupiter. And the Union Pacific 119. The Jupiter was a passenger locomotive from the Schenectady Locomotive Works. It was sent to Promontory Summit with Stanford's train after the initial engine, Central Pacific's Antelope, got damaged by logs as it traversed the Sierra Nevada mountains. Soon the Jupiter was hitched up to Stanford's private train and made the trek all the way to Promontory Summit, Utah, in time for the Golden Spike ceremony. Meanwhile, the 119 was a freight locomotive built by the Rogers Locomotive and Machine Works in 1868, along with 5 other locomotives in its class. Like the Jupiter, the 119 was sent in to replace a locomotive for the official train to Promontory Summit, Utah. In this case, Thomas Durant's train was held up due to a washed-out bridge that was so weak that only the cars could be pushed across it. Due to this, and the fact that 119 was near the main line in Ogden, the locomotive was sent to hitch up to Durant's train and make it to Promontory Summit for the Golden Spike celebration. Sadly, the original locomotives were scrapped at the turn of the century. But in 1975, the National Park Service embarked on a project to reproduce both the Union Pacific 119 and the Central Pacific Jupiter exactly as they appeared in 1869. Since the original drawings had not survived, the Park Service initially approached Walt Disney Studios, which had previously built 2 steam locomotives from scratch for Disneyland's railroad. However, Disney declined, but recommended O'Connor Engineering Laboratories in Costa Mesa, California for the job. Founded by Chadwell O'Connor. Using only the photographs of the locomotives, they managed to recreate both the Central Pacific Jupiter and 119 in their shops. Among the people working on the project was famed Disney animator Ward Kimball, who did the color matching and original artwork for both the Jupiter and 119. Finally, in 1979, the replica locomotives were completed and began operations on May 10th of that year, 110 years after the original Golden Spike ceremony. Even after little changes to the locomotives, including paint and what fuel they can burn, they're still performing their job of recreating the Promontory Summit celebration to this day. What was known as Promontory City during the building of the Transcontinental Railroad became Promontory Station. Promontory Station maintained a maintenance crew, hotel, and a depot. The last passenger train came through in 1904 as the Lucin Cutoff opened, redirecting train traffic across the Great Salt Lake. The visitor center sits at the location of Promontory Station. As you look across the plains and see the mountains, hills, field, and horizon, try to picture what it was like back then. And what a place it is! A great historical monument. But now, let's head back to the studio. I hope you had a great time exploring the Golden Spike National Historic Park. It was fascinating to see a very intact location of historical importance. It was even neat to see full-size steam locomotives up close and personal recreating the event. I had a great time looking at both of them. Well, I hope you're ready for next week's show, because we're going to go back to California to learn more about the Transcontinental Railroad. This time, the final link between Sacramento and San Francisco. It's going to be a blast to check that out. Anyway, if you have a location for us to go on, comment or email down below. We would love to see your suggestions. And also subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We would love to see your faces. Now that's all the time we have here on Adventures of Kendall. See you later, folks, and may your gifts bless the world.